Welcome to the second of our Breeders' Cup preview videos, this time previewing the card on Saturday the 3rd of November at Santa Anita. Ran quite late in the evening UK time, the last race going off at midnight. We're just going to look at the races that have got a bit of European flavour to them, and also the ones that I think there's a couple of big price selections in there. Start with the Turf Sprint. Ran over 6 furlongs on Santa Anita's turf track, 6.5 furlongs to be exact. California Flag returns to defend his crown, where he won it 3 years ago at Santa Anita. A couple of big prices. I'm surprised the UK trainers haven't told us this, that the American Turf Sprint is absolutely garbage. I'm surprised there wasn't a bit of interest in some of the UK sprinters rather than running in heavy ground at Champions Day the other week. The one I quite like, the main one I like, he isn't certain to get in a race, he's one below the ballot, he might not run in the race, is Global Power at 25 to 1. This horse is a miler really, but he's a real pacey miler, and I don't think he'll have any trouble dropping back to 6.5 furlongs. Put up some great bayers at lesser tracks in the States, but bayers that would be enough to take a hand in this, and he's quite interesting. 25 to 1 out there on the high street. Global Power, if he gets in the race, is very interesting. The other one's worth a quick mention to Wes Ward's Great Attack. Had about 6 months off, which is a bit of a concern, but his form prior to that would be enough to take that. I did look through his form though, and he kind of went off the boil a bit last autumn after a strong early campaign, similar to this year, and I'd be a bit worried he's not going to be in the best form for this. The other one I quite like is Rene's Got Zip, and been running on dirt and all weather, but running really well on all weather. Won quite impressively at Delmar by 3 1/4 lengths, posting an extremely good bear figure. And she's about 20 to 1, and she's favoured to run in this rather than the filly sprint, and I think she'd be a pretty solid each way selection. The other one worth mentioning is Next Question, who I think has been massively underestimated by the British bookmakers. He posted a 96 bear at Woodmine. He only beat Night Carnation half a length, which isn't great form, but I think it's enough to take a race like this. Overall, Next Question's interesting at 10 to 1. If Global Power gets in, then do back him at 25 to 1. But I think the best bet at the current prices is Rene's Got Zip at around 20 to 1. I think if she handles the turf, that's a huge price, and she's been massively underestimated by the UK bookmakers. We're then going to look at the Juvenile Turf, for which Roger Charlton's Dundonald is the 4 to 1 favourite. It's a lot shorter elsewhere, but I think he's a bit too short for this race really. I mean, the US contingent in this, by the way, is terrible. This will be won by a European horse, I can nearly guarantee it, unless Noble Tune manages to win. He's the only real American candidate in this. Dundonald, won well at York in the Acomb Stakes, but got beaten in Champagne, and I kind of think this horse with better form at bigger prices. George Vancouver is 3rd in the Dewhurst and 2nd in the Morn. He looks a lot stronger than Dundonald's form. Fantastic Moon is an interesting one, won the Solario Stakes at Sandown. He's about a 12 to 1 chance, but I just worry whether he's really going to have the pace for this track round here. He didn't look the quickest when he won the Solario Stakes. And the other one worth mentioning, is probably the most solid of these, is Artigiano, 2nd in the Royal Lodge, 2nd in the Vintage Stakes at Goodwood, and I think the track will suit him. I think he'd be very interesting. And about 8 to 1, Artigiano is probably a tentative selection in this, but I think Artigiano and George Vancouver were the two I'd give most interest to in this race. But I couldn't have Dundonald at the price he is, and if I was forced to make a selection, it would be Artigiano in that race. But I think that race will be going to Europe. I can't see the Americans managing to overturn the UK juvenile form. We've then got the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Shanghai Bobby is a pretty short favourite for this. I can see why. It's worth mentioning in this race there's loads of pace. Shanghai Bobby goes on the pace, Title Pretender goes on the pace, the other one, Speak Logistics, goes on the pace, and I just think there's a hell of a lot of pace in this. But Shanghai Bobby probably deserves to be favourite along with Power Broker. So some firms have the other one favourite, but there's not a lot between them. Of the two, Shanghai Bobby's got the better figures, but Power Broker can probably sit off the pace more than Shanghai Bobby. I thought Title Pretender and Speak Logistics, although front runners were both arguably overpriced, their better figures aren't too far behind. Title Pretender's 7 and has ran around the track. Speak Logistics is 12, which looks a very big price. And of the ones, given the nature of the race, it's tight front two, and then there's quite a few rags in the race. I'd rather be on Title Pretender and Speak Logistics each way, but I do think it's going to be a real pace duel up front, and it could suit one of the closers. Not sure which one that would be. Likely to be Dynamic Sky. I think he's probably the most interesting of the closers, who's shown he can chase a fast pace and come there late. And he's around 16 to 1. And I'd rather be on Title Contender, Speed Logistics, or Dynamic Sky each way. But it's not a race I've got a huge amount of knowledge on with the US juvenile form. But I think it's worth playing each way against Shanghai Bobby and Power Broker, mainly just for the way the race is going to be run. Filly and Mare Sprint next, got a quite strong fancy in this. Dust and Diamonds, trained by Steve Asmussen, won its last 3, posting very, very strong Bayer figures. Again, it's quite a pacey horse, but I think she's been hugely underestimated by the UK bookmakers. She's about 9 to 1 in places, which is massive. Groupie Doll's the favourite. I mean, Groupie Doll's, some of her figures are absolutely sensational. She's won her last 4. But I'd rather be on Dust and Diamonds each way at 9. Her form looks good. I've watched some of her videos back. She's very impressive. She won by nearly 6 lengths the time before last. She's run around here, albeit not that well, but it doesn't really concern me. The US tracks are quite similar. It's going to be a fast surface, and 5 of her 6 wins have been on fast dirt. She has got beat the 2 times. She's won on wet tracks, but it's very, very hot in California at the moment. It's forecast to stay like that all week. And at 9 to 1, Dust and Diamonds would be my each way selection in the Filly and Mare Sprint. Next on the card is the Breeders' Cup Mile, probably the best race of the whole 2-day meeting, to be honest. It's a shame it's not at the end of the card, really. They've got the silly Mile 2 Classic on at the end. Acceleration is the 6-4 favourite after his spectacular romp at Ascot a fortnight ago. I think he's too short, personally, Acceleration. He is the best horse in the race by a long way. If it wasn't for Frankel, he'd probably be considered to be one of the greatest miles of all time. And he should be considered one of the greatest miles of all time, regardless of Frankel's presence. 2 concerns with Acceleration are: 1, he's only got 2 weeks to get over that race at Ascot. Alright, he won very easily, but it was in heavy ground. It can't have been easy for him that day. Secondly, I just think Joseph O'Brien, although a decent enough jockey, he isn't a world-class jockey. And chasing what is going to be a savage pace around Santa Anita, a tight left-handed track, I just worry he's going to be up to the job. And I think those 2 factors just put me off backing him at the short price. Second favourite's Wise Dan, back 3 to 1. He's put in some spectacular performances the other side of the pond, winning very easily at Keeneland and Woodbine on turf. He put in a magnificent figure of 117 earlier in the year, when he won by 10.5 lengths. That's fantastic form. But I think the party's been spoiled, and everyone's spotted that he's a very, very good horse. Normally a horse like that might get under the radar a bit, but everyone's really noticed. I didn't help me beat Cityscape 2 months back. I think everyone's cottoned on to that. He's a very good horse, and he's a worthy second favourite for the race. 2 I fancy: Moonlight Cloud at 6 to 1. Freddie Head has pretty much had this race in mind for this horse since Golden Cova retired 12 months ago. She's been aimed at this race for months, if not an entire year. She's proven she can win over a mile in the Moulin, and she'll be fine on the ground. I think 6 to 1 is too big for her. It's just for the fact she's been laid out for the race. Freddie Head didn't run her at Longchamp on Arc weekend because he wanted to train her left-handed for the tight left-handed bench she's going to face here at Santa Anita. So he took her for a serious racecourse gallop at Compagnon, which is a left-handed track just north of Paris. And I think she's a bit of value against the front 2. I'd rather be on her at 6 than Wise Dan at 3 or Acceleration at 6 to 4. The other one I'm going to mention is obviously who is the real speed merchant in the race. He will go off like matter off a digging implement, shall we say. And I think he's put in some seriously good Bayer figures. 105 the last twice. He'll be out on his own in front. He might get a bit of hassle from a couple of others. There's a possibility. Little Mike might press him, but I think overall he's the value in the race. 16 to 1. His Bayer figures aren't a million miles behind Wise Dan. He is going to hopefully get the lead, and I think I can see him certainly being in the 3 at the death. So overall, Moonlight Cloud against the front 2, but obviously is a great each way bet at about 16 to 1. Then we've got the Breeders' Cup Turf, 1.5 miles on Santa Anita's turf track. Point of entry, the favourite for this race. Point of entry, not very often you get a US turf horse favourite for this race. It's normally dominated by European horses at the top of the market. Point of entry, won at Belmont and Saratoga. very impressive times he's won in, but you know, he beat Treasure Beach 1 3/4 lengths last time out. I'm not sure how that equates to being favourite for a race like this when he's got top European opposition. St Nicholas Hobby is, you know, vying for favouritism with him around 5-2, 3-1. He won this race when he was at Churchill Downs last year. It's not coming into this in quite as good as form, I don't think. You know, he's pretty weak at Leopardstown. He's not his ground at Longchamp, but I don't know. He's won a very weak Coronation Cup, but you know, he's not won anything else since this race last year. And I just can't understand the price compared to the third favourite, who I think is the better of the meeting. Sharetta loves fast ground. She's going to get fast ground. A mile and a half. She's beat they've only faced one of St Nicholas and Sharetta twice. Once in the Arc last year, just ran good ground. Once in the Arc this year, neither of them on soft ground. She's beat St Nicholas Abbey on both occasions. She's won, you know, the Prix Vermeille, a top class Group 1 in September. I just can't understand how Sharetta is 5-1 and St Nicholas Abbey is 5-2 in place. Sharetta is just a fantastic bet. I'd make her about 94 favourite for this race, and she is probably the best bet of the meeting by a long way. I mean, 5-1 is a fantastic bet, and I just can see no complaints against Beckingham. She's got a, you know, a fantastic CV. You know, with two Group 1s on there, the Yorkshire Oaks and the Vermeille, second in an Arc. She goes on the ground. You know, she is the one for me in this race. 5-1. She's the bet of the meeting, and just don't need to bother looking at the rest. I will just give a quick mention to Trailblazer. The price has gone. The Japanese horse had a great prep at Santa Anita over a mile, stayed on a bit, but he was about 10-12 to 1 last week. The price has gone. He's about a 7s. I think he'll run a race, but 7 to 1 is no value at 7s when Sharetta's 5. Sharetta's miles clear for me in this, and she'll just take all the beating. Breeders' Cup Classic last. No European horses in this, which is a bit of a surprise. Game on Dude's the favourite. The jockey Chantal Supplement's been jocked off for this race and the previous race. You know, he's got top class form. You know, he's won. You know, he's won Group 1s already. Saratoga, Santa Anita, and you know, 109, 110 Bayers. I think he's got a very, very good chance, and he deserves to be favoured for the race. But there's plenty of good opposition. Flat Out, you know, he's won at Belmont in similar times. Royal Delta, very strong candidate. The two I like. I've got not huge sections because my study of the US dirt form isn't the best. I'm not going to lie. Fort Lawn at 12 to 1 looks big. You know, he came third to Flat Out last time out, but you know, he's run a good race at Saratoga back in August, got 110 Bayer, won the time before that. I think he'd be interesting. 12 to 1 looks a bit big, but I think the best bet in the race for me is this Mucho Macho Man. Again, who came second last time out, but you know, he's got really good form, this horse. You know, he's second in a Group 1, won a Group 2, and I think 8 to 1. He looks quite progressive, and you know, when so many of the American horses, the 3-year-olds, have dropped by the wayside, he looks like a bit of a late developer, and he'd be the one I'd be interested in. He seems to be developing, and you know, he's put in the Bayer figures. I think 8 to 1's not a bad price for him, but it's not a race I'll get too involved in. It's a shame there's no European participation. I would love to see Franco in the race, but as it's running dirt, they just ruled it out immediately. So no real confidence selection in the last. Well, I think Mucho Macho Man or Fort Lawn are probably the two against the Game on Dude, Flat Out and Royal Delta trio at the top of the market. Overall, the best bet on the card is Sharetta by a long way. However, I think the other bets are also worth mentioning that we've covered off with the last 2 days. Ridicina and also Commander in the marathon's got a great chance, and Global Power in the turf sprint if he gets it. They're my selections. You'll probably do your money. I've just been studying the form for the last few days, looking at the American form really. But good luck whatever you back, both on Friday and Saturday. Should be a great evening's racing. We'll be open right till the last race. That's up until 12:30 on the Saturday night. A bit earlier the Friday night. You can get to bed about 11:30, I think, Friday night. Should be a cracking two nights racing. You know, get a takeaway, get a few beers in, whatever you need to do, or go down to. I think some pubs show as well, some racing pubs. I know a couple in London did last year. So good luck whatever you back. Do give us a call. 08000 521 321. You know, any specials you want, European winners, winning distances of horses, things like that. You know, happy to accommodate all those specials, and check out the website www.starsportsbet.co.uk. I'm sure a lot of the traders in the office We'll be offering our opinions on the blogs on there, and also visit us on Twitter throughout the evening and at any other time. Starsports_bet. We'll be tweeting throughout the 2 days of the Breeders' Cup. Good luck, and I'll probably see you next year for around the Dubai Carnival, as I've got to hibernate as these jump horses and Lofty and Luke come and entertain you over the winter. So good luck, and see you in the new year probably.